Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. Good evening to you all, and probably good morning to some of you, myself as well. So, welcome to this course. This is the first day of our very brief 2-year program. So, just before we start, let us just take one moment to settle ourselves after the full day of work. Some of you might have been rushing back to home in the traffic jam. Let's settle ourselves at where we are, sitting comfortably, resting ourselves on the chair. Let's take a deep breath and slowly breathe it all out. Remind ourselves that we are right here, right now. Okay, now I'd like to invite you to join our palms together and recite the name of our great teacher, the Buddha. Please repeat after me. Homage to the Supreme Teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to the Supreme Teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Homage to the Supreme Teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. Thank you so much. All right, you can relax yourself. Let me see. Okay, welcome again. So, Ancient Path, Modern Mind. So, this course is on Chinese Buddhism. How do we apply the theories and wisdom that we have in Chinese Buddhism into today's changing world? I remember like just yesterday, I was talking to one of the volunteers here at Chongyan Monastery in New York. He was the one who helped me to put up the poster online. And the first thing he asked me like, are you sure, Shifu? 2 years? He asked me like, did you actually committed a 2-year program, like even before you started the first one? I said, yeah, why not? This is how I actually make myself and also most of you who join the class to have the motivation to really study something. I mean, especially the complete, I would say the more comprehensive understanding of Chinese Buddhism. Not just like attending 1 or 2 lectures that what we usually do, but more like how to set a foundation and how to see it progresses. And until now, what does it mean to us in understanding the Chinese Buddhism? What can it do? How does it help us? So that's why I chose this title and to also commit for 2 years. And I was so glad to see in the application form that most of us actually have committed to study for 2 years. And that is a huge commitment. Hope everyone can stay on, right? And along the path, and we learn from each other and see. It definitely will move to the end. Okay. So why Chinese Buddhism? Maybe some of you had a question. Actually, it all started last year when I gave like similar online seminars. Actually, it was a hybrid. I was doing it in Shah Alam Buddhist Association in Shah Alam. And then Louis, yeah, from the Dhammabat, they were actually hosting it online. So there was a kind of hybrid classes we did. I was really astonished by to see like how many of us actually, even though many of us started by studying Theravada Buddhism, but most of us are Chinese, even we have Indian coming in to learn the class. So Chinese Buddhism, for me, I mean, I really sort of feel that how it was really so kind of connected to our life. especially most of us are from the Asian Chinese. And even though the language might be a barrier for us, most Chinese Buddhism classes are actually conducted in Mandarin only and some in Cantonese, but we need a medium that most of us can really connect to. So English and Chinese Buddhism, it seems like the way to go. So I was really touched by, I remember when we were discussing about how to Nian Fo, right? Remember, like Nian Fo is a chanting the name of the Buddha. I mean, for most people who are new to Buddhism, this is something that didn't sound too natural to some people. Why chanting the name, of a Buddha is a practice? So you might have that question. But to my surprise, most of us actually found that very helpful. Yeah, I remember during the class, some of you actually asked about how we actually do it and how many times a day, how to focus. Can I do it when I'm cooking? When I do it when I'm driving? So this kind of question actually even keep me more motivated to know that, yes, this is what we can offer in Chinese Buddhism to modern people who are busy with life. You don't need to, understanding that meditation or mindfulness they are just one or two of the methods that are available in Buddhist teachings. But in Chinese Buddhism, we have a lot more practices that are so intertwined with our life that can actually just be part of our life much more easily. So that's why we chose this path, and we try to commit to 2 years of understanding Chinese Buddhism. All right, so just before we start, all right, since I already planned to do it for 2 years, so it's good that you can know a little bit more about myself, about how am I going to run this class and what I expect from you guys, right? So today is more like an introductory. I'll let you know what do we expect, what are we going to learn together, and how we're going to run it. Okay, let's begin from a long time ago. This was like, I think 18 years ago when I just became ordained. So after 3 years, I became ordained. I went to Taiwan, a Dharma Drum, Institute of Liberal Arts. So I went here to study my Buddhist studies. And though these are my classmates, most of them were still in good touch. So Taiwan, for me, Dharma Drum was the institution who actually formed most of my fundamental of my Buddhist understandings. And so this is my school where most of my, I would say, my understanding of Buddhism, of how I am as a monastic actually come from Dharma Drum. So this is how I started. And during my 4 years at Dharma Drum, I took a year to do an exchange study at Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley, California. So I think this is the most fun. I think this is the funnest thing I've done in my study career. This is a university at a Catholic school, at a Catholic college. So you can see from our background that there are some monastic people from the Catholic Church, and they are nuns, and also there are some brothers and fathers. So this was the counseling class. It already opened up my mind to know how a religious study was conducted, beside what I learned from a traditional Buddhist school. So more on counseling, more on pastoral care, and a lot of involved with how we work with people. So for me, it was really eye-opening, and also changed my path a lot during my understanding of Buddhism. And of course, I'm from Chinese background. I took the opportunity to make presentation to introduce Chinese Buddhism. So that presentation, at that forum, I was introducing how we perform the ritual of praying to the deceased. So how we do it, and what's the meaning behind it, how this is transformed from the more traditional Buddhism to a adaptable Chinese Buddhist way of conducting this ritual. So this kind of interfaith dialogue and dialogue is really what I really into to understand other religions and myself. So this is what we're going to do, right? During our study of Chinese Buddhism, we are not just focusing on what the Buddha say, right, and what the Buddhists say. We try to also understand and learn about how about other religions, right? Buddhism didn't just come from nowhere. It didn't come from a void. It was influenced by the Indian culture during the Buddha's time, and it was very philosophical. It was also very spiritual. So a lot of elements that we can talk about by understanding Buddhism. So this is what I'm trying to do, to try to get different perspective, right? When you talk about the history of the Buddha, when you talk about some of the very specific philosophical thoughts in Chinese Buddhism, we'll try to see where did it come from, how is it related to our Chinese culture, okay? So this is where I started to have the inspiration from that. Oh, and then after I came back from Taiwan, I did my master, and then I went to Kyoto University to do my PhD in Buddhist studies. So this is where I really delve deep into the Buddhist psychology. We have something called Yogacara, right? If you heard of it, there's very important, one of the two most important schools in Chinese Buddhism. One is Madhyamika, is about the middle way, the middle path, and the Yogacara is about the mind. So I call it Buddhist psychology. So I did that for 7 years at Kyoto University, and I just submitted my PhD thesis. I'm going to have my defense in about 2 weeks. So hopefully, cross finger, hopefully I will get my thesis defense done, and I should get my degree by the end of the year. So that's the plan. So Japan for 7 years was also another huge impact on my life. Let me see another culture, another perspective on how to integrate Buddhist practice into daily life, which is not only for my familiar like Asian culture, but how to also lead people from different background to understand Chinese Buddhism and how to apply them. Right. So I'm pretty sure that in our group we have friends from Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, and also from US, and I think there's one or two from Switzerland. And did I miss anyone? Anyone from the floor that I didn't mention a country? Can you just unmute yourself and just say, yes, Shifu, I'm here. Let me just make sure. No? I did say Hong Kong, right? Hong Kong, okay. Where else? Anyone from Indonesia? No. Taiwan? Yes, definitely. Okay. Right, so that's how it began. I just finished that at Kyoto University. So that also another very important change or aspect of my life, or from who I am. And after I got back from Japan, I went to Hong Kong. Yeah, that's where I get to know some of our friends here today. Hong Kong Tzu Monastery, where I stayed for only about 7 months. We were giving teaching. Yeah, me and my brother monk, You Zhe Fa Shi. So this is where the huge, like the tallest Guan Yin Bodhisattva statue at the background. So from there also, I started to form like how I actually conduct my lectures. We were giving a lot of opportunities. We were not only giving teachings to the volunteers who came to the temple, we also gave teachings to students, university students, high school students, primary school students, and also to counselors. So this photo here shows that this is one of the counseling center run by the monastery, and run by the Tzu Monastery. So these are all volunteer counselors, some professional counselors, how to apply Buddhist psychology into helping other people. So this really opened up for me, and open up my mind to know that how we can really use Buddhist theories not only to help ourselves but for other people. So throughout this course, you would expect me to insert some elements on, for example, how to listen to people, how to talk to people, how to understand what other people thinking and what they need in for the goal of for the goal of improving our relationship with other people. So this is also how I got to design my class, my course for this time, yeah, to not just help ourselves but other people. And then we went on. When I went back to Malaysia after 7 months in Hong Kong, we started to conduct a lot of workshops. Yeah, so me and Yo Zhe Fa Shi, yeah, so we always do workshop together, and so the workshop, we have theories and practical, and then we have fun. So I think by learning Chinese Buddhism in a way that incorporate games, dialogues, and activities, definitely, well, I think learning Buddhism shouldn't be just about, listening, prostrating, and be so serious about it. We can make it more fun. So I'm still thinking, right, during our course for the years, we might decide on one day that we just do workshop. Maybe during this first semester of 12 classes, I might assign one day that I will lead you how to do an online workshop. Then all of you will participate. We will have small groups, discussion, we play games. Sometimes I even use cards, right? And let us explore how to apply Buddhism in a more fluid and in a more fun way. So, so you can see that how everything I've learned throughout my for the past 15 years actually came down to what we're going to do in the next 2 years, right? Everything, all elements I've learned, we will try to do that. That's the goal. And also, when I was in Japan, I learned about the tea ceremony. So sometimes I teach tea ceremony to other people for the goal of understanding mindfulness. How learning mindfulness is not just sitting on a cushion, watching your breath, but it could be also learning a new culture. Like when you're performing the Japanese tea ceremony, you need so much focus that you tend to forget yourself when you're doing that. Everything you do is you have to know exactly where you are, to know your body, to know your mind, to know your thoughts. So this is a very good training to help us to be more mindful in the day. Of course, at the end, you're going to get a reward for very delicious wagashi, the Japanese sweet. Yeah, so this is a plus. We have tried it several times when I was in Ipoh, in my hometown, and in Kuala Lumpur also with a group of friends. So we tend to do it. Now I'm actually in US, in New York. We're also planning doing this soon. So online, I'm not sure. Let's see how we can do that. Yeah, everything is possible, right? Let's see. Also, for my stay in Japan, I wrote a book actually, and it was also another journey for me. The first time I was called a writer, yeah, and actually people wanted to buy my book. I was like, really? Are you sure about that? You're gonna spend like 80 bucks, 80 ringgit just to buy a book? But it did, right? I got great support from Dharma Drum in Taiwan, and we held seminars, talks to introduce the books, and we met some of our readers, and people really excited about it. I was too excited. So it was even interviewed by the radio station in Taiwan. So another journey. So writing experience in the book. So this also taught me how writing can be a form of practice, Buddhist practice. So I'll try to do that in a workshop. I'll teach you how writing can be a form of healing. Nowadays we have so many forms of healing. Sound healing, breathing is a form of healing, massage is a form of healing. go to the forest, take a walk is a form of healing. All these modern element on healing process, actually in Buddhism is very, we are so, we love to incorporate all these elements and put them into Buddhist practice. So writing is one of them. Okay? So look forward to that. We can do some practice on writing. All right, so about not only writing, I also joined into some art performance. This is a good friend of mine. So he was doing actually a stage play, an very artistic performance, a dance actually. It's called a Trilogy of Hearts. So I was there. I participated. I think some of you was there, right? I'm sure. I think Yen, you were. Yen, you were there. So you are some of the guys that I met, right? So art performance, how Buddhism, when Buddhism meets art, how would that be, right? The new elements, how should we perform? So actually I started that when I was in Japan too. There's a performance called Rakugo. It's like it's more like a stand-up comedy, but it was sitting. It was actually very Buddhist. It was actually started about 400 years ago in Japan by a monk, right? They did it to tell the story of the Buddha and to preach Buddhism to ordinary folks. So artistic performance is also a way of presentation, a way of teaching. So anyway, Buddhism is really, I think, is very comprehensive. We try to learn everything that we can, that is more applicable to the modern society. That's what we plan to do, right? Artistic way. And of course, these are some of the talks I have given before in Taiwan and in Hong Kong about what is AI, right? We talk about AI. So in this course, we are also going to talk about how do we understand and use AI in this world by adhering to the Buddhist morals, right? The principles, and also of course, Wei Shi Wu Jing, right? This is about the Buddhist psychology and how we apply them in daily life. Also talks like this is what's going to be happen in 3 weeks time in Taiwan. I'll be traveling to Taiwan to give the 2 days talk, one on each day. This is still about, my understanding on Buddhist psychology and how to apply them. So if you're in Taiwan, in Taipei, from August 2nd and 3rd, you're very welcome. Yeah, free to see you there. And what else? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Actually, 2 years ago, how to 2 years ago, I started have like a four-day lecture conducted by Dhammapat. Yeah, how to train your mind, a yoga child approach. And also, this is the one that I did last year. The second one is Introduction to Chinese Buddhism. So these are the courses that I started to develop and to teach more about long-term progress. So after this, and then also in Kuala Lumpur, right before we came to New York, we have already started like we already formed like a 12 classes, 12 class, like one semester for 12 classes. We already started to use this format, and I think it was good, right? It was physical classes. Both of us, we taught different things. My Dhamma brother, Yuzhe Fa he taught the life of the Buddha, and I was teaching, of course, Buddhist psychology. So these were physical classes. We have talked about the philosophy, and then we have workshop. Right, the workshop was fun, so definitely. So this is the last thing that I'm going to mention is about how we apply Buddhist understanding in counseling. So this was 16 weeks of classes that we just finished conducting from March to June. I was conducting this with the help from 2 other counselors and psychologists, one from India, one from America. And we did this online to train social workers and counselors who need some input from the Buddhist psychology. So we call it the Bodhisattva path of care. how we apply the understanding of, let's say, what is a bodhisattva? Right? What is giving? What is the Four Noble Truths? And what is impermanence? Using this idea to help them form a framework for them to work with their clients. So these are the training that we have been giving them, and we just finished it last Monday. So something that we have done, I have done, and I want to show you that how this all incorporated and become what we'll be doing in this course. Okay, just a very, it's not brief, actually I talked for half an hour. Okay, anyway, so this is where I am now. I'm in Chongye Monastery in Carmel, New York. This is in 4, yeah, very beautiful. That is the main Buddha hall, and this is this is right in the front of the main Buddha hall. It's huge, and this is one of the we have a pond right in the middle of it. So welcome to the Chongye Monastery. If you are nearby, please come in 4, right? I can guarantee you can see all these leaf changing colors. It's very beautiful. So this is an everyday scenario, you know, that I'm seeing now, right now, every day, on my way walking to the main Buddha hall. I just want to lure you to see how beautiful, how nature this place is. It's not in a city center. It is in actually in a forest. Right? So natural. We have deers, we have bears. I heard about it, but I haven't seen one. Hopefully not, right? We have also turkeys. I think right outside my window, I see like a group of turkeys, a family. They cross by every morning. So this is very full of nature. Right. So we just had. So I'm actually. I was just installed as the abbot of Chongye Monastery. I'm just here for 2 weeks, so I'll be here for a couple of years. But anyway, we will see you online, no matter where we are. All right. So that's a brief introduction of who I was, right, who I am, and who I will be, and what you expect in a course, right? Okay. Right now, any question? Anything that interests you? Anything at all? Did you find my voice clear for you? You can just unmute yourself and shout it out. Or type in the chat box if you have any. Okay, let's carry on. That's the mid part, right? Course structure. So we plan to do it in 4 semesters. Okay, I see a chat box. Anyway. Okay, we have 12 classes per semester. That means it takes 3 months to finish one. So now it's July, August, September. After September, please commit yourself. You're gonna have 12 classes. We're gonna do class recordings. Yeah. But some of you who have applied to join the class but couldn't, sometimes you miss 1 or 2 classes, please let us know. Our team will send you the recording within 1 week after the class. But please write to them, right, when you need them, because we are not sharing it freely online. We want to make sure that you are our cohort now. You are our team members. Those registered, you are our club. We are a group. So we make sure that you attend the class, and we don't want people, just to take the advantage of, can read anytime, see anytime, just keep quiet. But I think by learning, the participation, the effort is very important. So let's do that. And also, we also came up with a little reward. We have a certificate of completion, as Louis was mentioning just now. So it goes by semester. Let's say this semester we have 12 classes, right? As long as you attend like 70%, I think maybe 8 of them. If you miss probably 4 or so, less than 4, then you'll still be able to get a certificate of completion, right? And submission assignment, okay. I am still thinking about it. It could be a very simple writing exercise, maybe just a few lines or 1 or 2 pages at the end before you get a certificate. For those who actually completed the 70% of participation, I might ask you to, I might give you a topic. You can write, if English is your more comfortable language, use English. If Chinese, you prefer Chinese, fine, doesn't matter. Malay language, okay too. Cantonese, I'm fine, okay. But nowadays AI is so convenient that whatever language you use, I'm fine, right? Don't worry about that. And also, when we get deeper into the semester, when I start to know some of you better, and you know the course structure much better, I might start to experiment with a study group. That means that instead of me talking like 1.5, like 90 minutes full time, like hearing the same voice for 2 hours is actually quite tiring. I might ask, actually it's by invitation, right? One or two of you to come about to present about 20 minutes presentation of the day topics. I will assign a reading, probably just a few paragraphs for you to read for the topic. But don't worry, I can see some of you like dropping your jaw, like, oh no, what am I gonna do? I didn't sign up to this, right? But don't worry, I'm not forcing you. I'm inviting, right? It's an invitation. But please, if you want to practice public speaking, if you want to publish how to give Dharma sharing, I love it. When I was in Malaysia, there was a group of young students, college students. They are actually learning, and then they are monastics and professional like public speakers, giving them training on how to perform Dharma talks. Imagine that, right? We are training more people to do Dharma talks. So why not us, right? Of course, I'm not asking you to be like to talk freely, from your mind. You have something to read, you summarize it, you present to us either verbally with words, with just by your words, or you can have a PPT slides, right? It's not compulsory, It's let's see how we go, and I will maybe do it once or twice in the whole semester. I think that would be more interesting. And our reference books, I will send this to you afterwards at a PDF. If you more like to know more about this course, these are the 3 books that I strongly recommend. Right, Chinese Buddhism by Professor Yu, and Foundation of Buddhism, Rupert Gattin, Buddhist Thought by Paul Williams. These are very well-known books and well-studied, and they are timeless. I mean, they're still being used by scholars and practitioners and whatever. So these are very good books. Just bear in mind. Okay, so these are the dates that we're going to have for this semester. Basically, we have every week, starting this week, except in July, there's one day that I'll be flying to Japan. I just realized after I gave all the dates to you on a poster that, oh no, I'm going to be flying to Japan. Remember I told you that I'm going to finish my thesis defense? So this is the day that I'm still on my flight. So, except that week, so we have 3 weeks full, and then extend the final day to October, right? We also send you the PDF of these, so make sure that we remember the time. Every Thursday, 12 sessions. Right, course syllabus, foundational Buddhism. These are like the 10 main topics we are going to cover. It takes 2 years, right? So don't worry, we go slowly, one step at a time. Foundational Buddhism, actually we talk about who the Buddha is, and also introduce us to who is the historical Buddha and why is it important, right? Is it important to know the real Buddha, or is it important to understand Buddha from folklore, from stories, from a lot of interesting story of the Buddha that we think, oh, it could be just a story, it's true or not. So why is it important to us? And the second part is the major Buddhist sutras and treatises. Right? In Chinese Buddhism, we have the perfection of wisdom scriptures, the scriptures, 金刚经, Lotus Sutra, 妙法莲华经, Vilamakriti Sutra, right? 维摩诘经, Tathagata Garbha Sutra, and also the Nirvana Sutra, Da Nie Pan Jing. So these are the few very, I would say, the most important sutras in Chinese Buddhism that we're going to explore from what this sutras is about, why the Buddha say this, why the Buddha talk about these sutras. The most important is how is it relevant to our modern society, right? Jing Gang Jing, I remember that actually even in America, when I meet some of the practitioners here with Chinese background, I just realized that many of them are familiar with Jing Gang Jing, right? The Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. I was quite surprised that, and they keep asking the question of how emptiness it is. What is emptiness? And many people seem to have the question that, since it's all empty, why do we still need to put effort? And this is a kind of like, I think, misunderstanding about when to apply the ultimate reality in Chinese Buddhism and when to be real, when to be a human again, right? We have to actually know where we are, how to apply the understanding of this, and not always remind ourselves of the ultimate truth, the ultimate emptiness. It's not something that we will experience actually. It's something that is a process that we go toward the emptiness. So we'll discuss what some of these scriptures means and how should we apply them. And this form the first semester. And the second semester, we'll start by talking about the Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, who is our Buddha, Sakyamuni, who is Maitreya, Amitabha, Guan Yin, who is the Dijang Pusa, who is a medicine Buddha, Yao Sifo. We just did a summer camp here last week with a group of youth who are in a high school. We were introducing to them 5 of the main bodhisattvas in Chinese Buddhism. We have Guan Yin Pusa, we have Pu Xian Pusa, we have Dijang Pusa, Wen Su Pusa, and then Milo Pusa, 5 of them. So how to let young people, have interest in the bodhisattva, right? If I just show them pictures of this, how it look like, what they do, I think it's kind of boring, right? So it's very funny that my brother Mang, Yoja Pastor, and I, so we thought of one way. So let's tell them these are the 5 superheroes, like in the American Captain, right? They have like all sorts of heroes. So this, in Buddhism, we have the same. We have 5 main heroes. So each hero represent a very interesting, unique characteristic. Let's say Guan Yin, we have the Guan Yin Bodhisattva. Guan Yin represents love, right? Love and kindness. So he or she is like a motherly figure. And then we have like Maitreya. Maitreya is metta. Metta is loving kindness, right? So this represents someone like a good friend of us, right? Or a sibling, or brother, sisters, a big brother, big sisters, who always take care of us. And then we have Manjushri, Manjushri about wisdom. So he's like a mentor to us, our teacher, someone who actually guide us. So in the end, we asked them, okay, now we have 5 different unique characteristics that you might long for. Think about one of your most concerned problem now that you're facing. You might need, so what do you need? You might need, a motherly figure. You might need a mentor, and so, okay, now choose one to be your own bodhisattva, to be your own superhero. And then we give them like a very, very cute paint, like drawing of each bodhisattva. I can show you, like if you have chance, ask them to draw. At the end, you can find that all these young people, they're really interested in that. They learned the 5 bodhisattva in Chinese Buddhism, and they knew that what they represent. Something that they touched them, right? Oh, Guan Yin represent a mother, right? So when I relate to Guan Yin Pusatsu, when I relate to Guan Yin Bodhisattva, it's like relating to a mother. So that kind of connection, right? So for me, learning Buddhism is not just about the theory, but how to connect it to our heart. What we need at this moment. What can we gain from chanting the name of the Guan Yin? What does that mean? It's just not a sound, is the connection that cares. So we also study about the Buddhas, Bodhisattva in Chinese Buddhism. I know there are many of them. It might be very confusing to some of us who are familiar with Theravada. Theravada Buddhism is simple. We just have Shakyamuni Buddha, right? And some of the main disciples. But welcome to the world of superheroes of Chinese Buddhism. We'll explore that, okay? And we also talk about Buddhist festivals and rituals, what we do, right? What is Liang Huang Fa Hui? What is during the moon, in July, in Chinese we call the moon of disease, right? What does that mean? Why do we have certain rituals, and how is it related to the Chinese culture? And then move on to monastic orders, a little bit about how monastic community is, and more important is how do you interact with a monk or nun, right? Next time if you see a Theravada monk, how should you approach him? Or if you see a Tibetan monk, how should you talk to him? How should you, do the prostration? All different. So let's look at what's the difference between the culture of different Buddhist schools, Theravada, Mahayana, including the Tibetan Buddhism. So something that we need to learn, right? Also, the monastic order is about, if any one of you are thinking about becoming a monk or a nun, then this is for you, right? I'm going to introduce to you what are the requirements to become ordained, and what are the steps that you need to do, what kind of things you need to know before you actually step into that. So these are the basic understanding I think we should have as a Buddhist practitioners. Okay, then we move on to a more kind of hardcore philosophical learning is on the doctrinal traditions. Especially in Chinese Buddhism, we have the Tiantai and Huayan, right? And under this, we have a Madhyamaka school and a Yogacara school. Okay, one thing I want to also mention about it, sometimes I will use some words that are not English at all, like Yogacara. What is it? Madhyamaka, what is it? I try to avoid using these terms. Actually, it's my principle too, because I believe that Buddhism can be taught in any language. There shouldn't be any barrier. We shouldn't follow whatever the tradition gave us. The terms should be translated into modern terms that we all understand. I tried many times, but still some specific term like Yogacara, Kalama, these terms, maybe I would give definition in the beginning, but as we move on, I should use some of these terms regularly, because some of the terms are actually not possible to translate. Yeah, just bear this in mind. So let me know if I just, set up some words that doesn't make sense to you. Most of them are Sanskrit, but don't worry about that. Let me know. We'll just have more explanation. And we also talk about the meditation tradition, especially on Chan Buddhism, how it was transmitted from India to China, who are the Chan master in the past, what did they teach, what are the differences, what is a koan, right? Koan is a recitation of a line of words, which sometimes has no meaning, but what is this practice for, right? And what is Chan or Zen? Zen is a Japanese word. The Chinese word is Chan. What is it? What's the important point? And also, what is a Pure Land Buddhism? Most people are very interested in that, right? And okay, and then we move on to Buddhism. And then the final semester is more like Buddhism, gender, and other contemporary issues. I might move some of these topics, accordingly when I see fit. So, but this is just a guideline. Of course, we need to connect Buddhism to modern society, to what we care about now in this day society, like gender. What is gender equality? What is how do we view like same-sex marriage from the Buddhist point of view? Do we say yes? Do we say no? How do we approach them? I think these are the topics that are still very debatable, but I think debate is good, right? We need to see other perspective and how to approach from the point of view of compassion and love. And Buddhism and psychotherapy, of course, I will spend quite some time on how to talk about how to reapply Buddhist teachings into helping ourselves and other people. I use the techniques I've learned from Western psychology and counseling to try to integrate it in everyday's activity, right? How to talk to people, how to listen to people, how to give comfort to people when they need one, when people are having difficulties in life, going through grief, right? Loss of someone. How should we, as a Buddhist, we approach them? What is the best thing to say and what not to say? These are very important, right? It's not just about, bringing a kind heart and jump into it and say everything we like. But sometimes we need a skill. So these are the skills that I've learned from Western psychology, and then I filter them through the lens of Buddhist psychology, and we'll see how we can apply them. All right, so these are what we're going to talk about for these 2 years. All right, any question so far? Okay, I just reading the chat. Okay, first of all, could you recommend books written in Chinese? Yes, I should give you a couple. Okay. Okay, so Sharon, please remind me, okay, at the end. I'll give you PPT. Okay, I'll give you not every page. I think you don't need them, just the one that with information on it. I'll give you. Is there any difference between Arahat and Bodhisattva? Yes. Arahat, the goals are different. Yeah. Arahat and Bodhisattva. Arahat, the goal is to achieve enlightenment. We call it Nirvana. Nirvana is complete elimination of suffering. Especially in this life. Try to eliminate as quick as possible and achieve Nirvana. But Bodhisattva, the approach is a bit different. The goal is different. Bodhisattva is to help as many people as possible before ourselves become enlightened. And Bodhisattva, they always postpone the Nirvana, if it's even, for like Guan Yin菩萨, right? Guan Yin Bodhisattva, he or she very famous for postponing her enlightenment. We knew that in some scriptures, it say that Guan Yin Bodhisattva has actually become a Buddha. But she returned as a Bodhisattva because Bodhisattva has deeper connection with human being, with all beings on in this world. So, in short, the goals are different. Yeah, you might talk a little bit deeper into that during the course. Yes, exciting course syllabus. Oh, someone deal. Okay, make sure you stay on. All right, you're going to get excited. Okay, let's move on. So, why Buddhism? All right. I don't know about. So, remember the time when you first heard about the word Buddha? Right? Think about the time when you first hear about the Buddha. Or even now, I say, oh, I'm learning Buddhism. This is Buddha. What is the first image or what is the first thought that appear in your mind? Okay, I invite, right? Let's do a practice now. I invite all of you to just type in a chat box a word, a sentence, a phrase, or to jump into mind. Let us see what comes out. Think about Buddha, enlightened being. All right. Calm, serenity, refuge, compassion, wisdom, awakened, so peaceful. Enlightened being, calmness, awake, hoping to find the missing puzzle in life. This is what I like. Right? Find a missing puzzle in life. Dear father and friend, way to achieve, sound to respect, enlightenment and suffering, the savior, ideal, merciless, immortal, immortal in a sense. Okay, this is interesting. Right? Is the Buddha immortal? All right, good question. Enlightened, ultimate, great teacher. Hmm. Okay, emptiness, nothingness, totally Oh, okay, this is also a big question. We will talk about that, yeah, don't worry. Emptiness and nothingness, definitely. That also confused me a lot of times. So we talk about that. Don't worry. Someone who knows everything, show me the way to remove suffering, awaken. Okay, good. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, hearing upon the word Buddha, right, is like an external, like a third person, external figure. They think, oh, no, it's like more like a saint-like person. That is a role model for everyone if we want to end suffering in this life, right? This seems to how we look at the Buddha himself. He represents kindness, he represents wisdom, he represents skillfulness in dealing with his daily problem. But now, in our society today, how do we look at Buddha? You know, let's imagine Buddha is alive in this century, at this time, at this very moment. Right? What do you think the Buddha will teach? If a Buddha appeared today, like how do you think the Buddha will look like? Right? Have you ever thought about this question? Like what will he teach? How does he relate to our society? Just remember that the Buddha was in India actually 2,600 years ago. He is living in a society with the Indian background. Like whatever he says actually is resonates, among the people around him. It resonates among the Hindu people around him who share the same language. Well, mostly, but they have many different dialects. At least the same understanding of the world. Different practices. So, but they are so far apart. Think about the modern society that we are facing now. When we heard about the word Buddha, what do we need? What do we think? Right? I summarize three things that I think is so relevant of Buddha for today. First, we long for peace, right? Peace is not just like no war or no argument, no fighting. For me, peace is more like how we come to peace within ourselves. Don't we realize that many times we have a lot of struggle within our mind, right? Whether to buy this, not to buy this, to go here, not to go there, to work here, not to work there, or to change my job, not to change my job, to get married, not to get married, And most of the stress come from comparison with the people we know, from social media, especially. That's the worst comparison that we could ever done. So we long for peace. We long for this calmness in our mind. We want to be connected to our body and mind. So when we think about the word Buddha, whatever characteristic we just listed just now, remember that we as human beings, we always long for peace deep down in our heart. Peace within ourselves and peace with people, with the environment. All right. That's why the teaching of the Buddha it's never been so relevant and important to the world. It's because what the Buddha taught is about how to understand ourselves and how to be peaceful within ourselves and with the environment. Second thing is, wisdom, right? Especially dealing with emotional turmoil. We all have emotions all the time. Even now, when you're sitting here looking so calm, even some of you may look a bit tired after a long day of work. We have emotions. Either it's joy, either it's cheerfulness, either it's up, either it's down. It's all emotions. Emotion is not a bad thing, right? We're going to talk more about that. Emotion is not a bad thing. Emotion is something so natural that we live with it all the time. It's a way to show who we are. It's a way to express what we need. to express what other people need, how we answer to people's need. So this we need a lot of wisdom, right? To understand how all these emotions are actually working underneath what we see from a surface, and how to actually have a little bit of control over our emotions. So these are the Buddhist psychology. What we're going to learn from Chinese Buddhism is how to see our emotions and how to work with them, make them the best way we can. And we need connection, right? The final point that why Buddhism is so relevant today is we are living in a world that's no more divided than today. Every day we see like the tariff wars, the real war, everything is about self-interest. We divide ourselves, us and others. But Buddhism, the main teaching of the Buddha is about connection, how we connect to ourselves, what we need, and also to answer to other people's need, how to find a balance. Right? This is about the whole teaching of Buddhism. So think about the Buddha, and we immediately think about what we need nowadays. We long for peace. We need wisdom to guide us in our daily life, and we need connection with ourselves and other people. Okay? I hope these are the three things that actually touches you. These are the touch you that we look for. All right, so why I do this course? The first thing I want to mention is that I really feel grateful when I first started learning Buddhism about 20 something years ago, over 20 years ago. Like the learning about Buddhism really changed me, right? In my relationship with other people. Even at that time, I was just graduating from college and I was looking for a job. And I met a very good teacher when I was studying in Canada. I still remember him, Yangten. His name is Yangten, Kelsang Yangten. Actually, he's a Tibetan tradition. So he was the one who actually inspired me to become a monk today. So I always have this kind of gratitude towards the monastics and the Buddhists in my early 20s who helped me to see the meaning of life. So that's why for me to teach something I'm very familiar, Chinese Buddhism, is something that I pay, how to pay back the kindness of the people. That's why I'm doing it. Of course, there's another reason too, resentment. Wow. When I went to India, right, when I was wearing this robe as a Chinese monk, I remember there were many times when I was walking on the street. There are many kids, like even Indian people, they saw us, but they didn't know who we are, But the next thing they show is like, they show the star like this, and they're like, oh, Jet Li, like they they're yelling at us, Jet Li or Jackie Chan, and they keep saying that Kung Fu, right? I said, do we know Kung Fu? Well, of course, when I was and then I went to Berkeley in America. There were some Westerners who didn't know who we are, and they came to us and they look at our shirt and like, oh, this is a nice shirt. Where do you get it? And I always say that, oh, well, try your luck on Amazon. I think you can find on Amazon like anything you want. And then when I went back to Malaysia, I still find that there's so many misunderstanding about who we are and what is Chinese Buddhism. Right? Think about it. There are many temples today. When you go for, let's say, you go to attend the ceremony, especially in the Ulambana ceremony that is in July. It's about praying, giving blessing to the deceased. Many people still bring a lot of, we call it 金纸, in Chinese, like the folded paper into the kind of like, money form. And people start burning and doing that. And many people are confused, like, isn't this Buddhism? Right, well, what's the difference between what we do and Buddhism? And there are also many people who ask me questions like about the karma, right? So, yeah, isn't that karma true? They say. I say, yeah, it's true. So when I see someone handicapped, this is what they did in the past, right? So this is why they're experiencing the inconvenience, of losing some limbs this life. So they shouldn't blame anyone but themselves, right? These kind of questions actually even come out from among us, like those who have studied Buddhism for a long time, like the misunderstanding of what a monastic is, what karma is, and what is compassion. Buddha always taught compassion. So Shifu, at home I take care of my family, my husband, my kids, my parents-in-law. Everyone thought I should do it, but whenever I come to the monastery to do my own practice, I feel guilty. I feel like I'm not taking care of them. What should I do? All these misunderstanding about compassion and give us a label of once you become a Buddhist, you should do this and do this, and then you shouldn't get annoyed. It's like you shouldn't get angry, right? Have you ever seen an angry monk? Well, maybe not me, right? Well, I wouldn't guarantee, maybe sometimes I do get angry, right? But ask yourself, right? If you see an angry monk, what do you think? What do you think? Oh, is it a real monk? Is it a fake one? How could a monk get angry? He's supposed to be like a saint-like person. So for me, a lot of misunderstanding about who we are, about what we do as a Buddhist, but not just a Chinese Buddhist, but any tradition at all. So that's why for me, especially in Chinese Buddhism, there's so much misunderstanding, but I have great gratitude for it. I gain so much wisdom from it. So for me, it's a responsibility, Also, I feel resentful because so many people have misunderstood it. And so I did feel I want to do something. That's why this course appeared, to teach Buddhism in a more broader sense, right? Transformation, of course. At the end, we wish that at least there's maybe one word or one sentence from the class that you can bring back to you, and you start doing transformation little by little, right? So these are the goals and why I want to do this course with you in this semester, okay? All right, let's go on. All right, of course, we're going to start by talking about the Buddha, right? To lay the background of our great teacher, who he is. Don't worry about this. This is a chronological event of our great teacher, the Buddha. I'll give you the slides in the PPT, in the PDF. Don't worry. So to let you know that the Buddha was born in Lumbini, and he lived in the palace. He had a very good life before 29, and he started to go for his spiritual quest. So anyway, so these life events are actually show us that the Buddha was not someone who is born like a saint, but he went through the same difficulties, same challenges. He went through like greed, hatred, and delusion, just as we do, right? But by dedication and by the mind that wanted to change, he went through all the difficulties, right? So he went through 6 years of austerity practice, the very the hardest kind of training that a monk could ever experience. And he went through that, and he just realized that no, like the extreme ascetic is not really the way to achieve enlightenment. So he become like a more attuned to the mundane life, to the middle life, that you don't go for the extreme enjoyment and extreme austerity, but more like the middle. We receive what we should receive, we give what we should give, live a humble way, but know what our goal is. So at the age of 36, right, he became enlightened. So this is how we know the actual historical Buddha, right? And then we show you like what happened in this age, 38, 39, 40, how he started to have his own monastery. We call it Great Forest, the Bhawana, right? And then he do the rain retreats. Anyway, up to the age of 80, where the Buddha, he achieved a nirvana, right? Nirvana means he passed away, and then he left his legacy, his teaching for us. So why I show this chronological event is to say that we might have heard about the story of the Buddha from many different sources, either from the sutra, from Chinese sutra, or from the Pali Sutra, and even some like many modern movies, right? Especially the I don't know, like the Hong Kong movies and the Chinese movies, they always depict the Buddha as someone, who walk like this, holding a hand like talk, 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 talk all the time, and while like 6 big dots on the head. So this might be the stereotype understanding of the Buddha for many non-Buddhists, even for beginners. But we need to understand like what actually happened to the Buddha since he was born and what he did. So these are some very important events at different stages of the Buddha's life. I'm going to give it to you and take your time to study it. And if you have questions, please come back to that. I will also recommend you a book on how to read a more reliable historical fact of Buddhism, of the Buddha. Okay, if you go online, you go ChatGPT, you'll find many stories. Most of them depict the Buddha as a saint, right? He did miracles. He performed he could, whenever he speaks, he will there are many colors, and sound that appear around him. Those details appear because it is according to the context of the society in India, like 260 years ago, 2060 years ago, but they might not be so applicable to modern world. So what I want to emphasize is, yes, we are Buddhists, right? We take the Buddha's words, the sutra, as our guidance, but that doesn't mean that we believe in everything that's written in the text. That doesn't mean that I also believe in whatever even the Buddha told us. Right? This is mine. Even the Buddha himself say to us that don't take my words just because I said it. Think for yourself, analyze it, apply it, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, forget it, Find another one that works for you. So this is also the spirit that we should have today. Right? In learning Buddhism, we don't just believe in whatever we see. Even I tell you the events of the Buddha now, they are more like the proof, historical, real event of the Buddha. But don't take this as all the facts, right? Some of them are actually, we just make a logical assumption, right? So because we never knew the history for sure. But that means that we pay focus on whatever we seem fit, whatever we seem that resonate with our life, that help us become a better person. So these are the words that we should take. And we don't try to distinguish between the word of the Buddha that doesn't apply to us nowadays, that doesn't resonate with the modern society, and those that do. Okay, so these are the very important spirit. So definitely this will be our principle, and during the course we will discuss them. I'll guide you through this, how to apply the ancient wisdom to the modern society in something that we can understand. All right, so just a little bit of highlight on the life of the Buddha. Of course, the 4 signs, this is actually in a Kapilavastu where the Buddha was, this is the palace where the Buddha lived. So according to one of the very famous monk who went to India in 4th century, so he recorded about this place. Actually, I went there during my pilgrimage trip to India, the Buddhist sacred places. I went there in March with our Venerable Yoja and a group of friends who might be here today too, right? So this is the place that we went, and accordingly, this is the east gate. Right? Remember that in the 4 gates that the Buddha ran out from the temple, ran out from the palace, and he wanted to search for, practice, the end of suffering. So this is the gate that's facing the east. Okay, so Also, we can hear a story like how the Buddha was riding on the white horse, and then you can start imagine the white horse actually jump over the fence, and off the Buddha went, deep into the forest and leaving behind the life of luxuries and a life of greediness and everything. So this, when you were there, you actually feel like saw the place. You see the remains of the building. You feel like, wow, this is a real historical Buddha that was here to teach us. So it's very touching. So the fourth sign, right, when the Buddha met old people, right, when he met people who are sick and dead people, and finally he met monastic, right, someone who was going through training, the monastic training. So this is what inspired the Buddha, who started the journey to look for enlightenment. So the question for you guys is, take it home, is look back of your years of studying Buddhism, right? Or before you started learning Buddhism, what are the turning points? What things that change your course of life to define who you are today? There must be one or two events or even more. Like the Buddha, right? The meeting of the 4 different kind of people actually changed his course of life forever. So how about us? Was there, any turning points that shape who we are today? If you know about it, think about it, write it down, So this is how we connect to the historical Buddha. We understand that the Buddha went through the same difficulties and suffering, but then he took this, I would say, negative events for something that motivated him to move forward. So how about us? We are all future Buddhas, right? We have the potential. So now we are facing difficulties in our life. We have big obstacles. Would it be something that changes? Would it be a milestone that will change our life forever? Okay, think about it. The Buddha has 4. How about us? Maybe 1, maybe 2, right? Obstacles that are going to move us forward. The forest of ascetic practices. So this is believed to be where the Buddha spent his 6 years of hard training, right? He was living there, not eating like just 1 grain a day for 6 years. And we went there, we actually went into the cave. You can store the statue of the Buddha, like very skinny Buddha, only a skeleton left over. Like Maggie, do you remember this? Right? So this year we went to see, the Sanskrit name is called Tapovana, right? The ascetic forest. So this was something that changed the Buddha forever. All right, to show you a little bit of the important life that the historical Buddha is real, is there for us to even to see, to admire. And this is the Bodhigaya, the Buddha's threefold knowledge. So we believe that when the Buddha became enlightened, he came to have full knowledge of karma, right? Remember all his previous life, and then he understand why are we reborn again and again, right? And then he saw the law of dependent origination. This is also we're going to talk about in the next session. Talk about all these important fundamental principles that became the Buddhist teachings: karma, rebirth, the law of dependent origination, and the Four Noble Truths. But these are the 3 that were believed to be the most important realization of the Buddha when he attained enlightenment. So what are they? Karma. What is karma? What is rebirth? How does that work? What is the law of dependent origination? 12缘起. Okay, we'll talk about it next class. So, Chalkhandi Stupa, the first turning of the wheel. When the Buddha became enlightened, he actually went about teaching other people how to be enlightened. All right, so this is what we call a Chalkhandi Stupa. This is how they describe it. This is described by Xuan Zhang. Right, Xuan Zhang, if you don't know who is Xuan Zhang, you must know Tang San Zhang, right? According to the movie, his meat is delicious. So if you ate a bite, if you just take a bite, you live forever. So Tang San Zhang, right? So this is a very famous kind of like make-up story of the Xuan Zhang. Xuan Zhang was one of the greatest master in Chinese Buddhism. He went to India for, if I'm not wrong, 17 years, and he brought back many sutras, Sanskrit. So we translated what we have. Most of the text that we read was still reading today. So imagine that, right? Being alone, when they alone came back. So this is what was recorded by Xuanzang when he was in India, seeing this place where the stupa was there to remember where the Buddha first gave his teaching. Right. And now the question to think about, so if the Buddha was not born enlightened, he became enlightened, right? So what does that say about our potential? Do you believe you become a Buddha as well? Do we have the confidence to become a Buddha in the future? Or do you say, no, definitely not me, right? Anyway, something to reflect upon when we read the story of the Buddha, not just the facts and tales, but how did they relate to us? How we use Buddha as our role model to change our life. All right? Okay, let's move on a little bit. I think this is the last slide that I'm going, as much as I have. Okay. So, why the Dharma? Why does it matter today? The most important teachings in Buddhism is about karma, right? Action is intention. Karma is interesting, right? Karma is actually a term that was shared, that was not invented by the Buddha, but a term that was shared among most Indian religions during the Buddha's time, even until now. But karma itself has a different meaning initially. It only means action, something you do. You can physically see, like you do action of offering to the saint or to the gods, or you do an action that has a reaction. So initially, karma only means action, but Buddha realized that there's still something behind every action. So what is more important is the intention. So for the Buddha, he said that no, karma is not just about what you do, it's more on how you think and what's your motivation behind every action. That counts as karma. So in the course, in the following classes, we'll explore why the Buddha, chose to interpret the word karma differently from the original context in Indian culture, right? The intention came in and became a unique definition in Buddhism. Karma is more on intention, why you do this. Whether you have a kind heart or you have the heart of hurting others. So this actually aligns with today's civic law. Like if we go to the court, right? Just imagine that how the judge would judge someone, whether they are guilty or not. The intention actually brings in a lot of weight into deciding how long a sentence a person will receive. So this actually aligns with the Buddha's thought. Imagine that. The Buddha said it like 2,600 years ago. Intention behind all actions is more important. Action itself, okay, this is karma. We're going to explore more. And the next thing is an-atman, okay? Forgive me again, I use a Sanskrit word, but anyway, is the discussion on whether there's a soul or whether there's a no soul. All right? When I say emptiness, I'm sure many of us say, emptiness is nothingness. It means there's no me, no self, no other people. And the next question that naturally follows is, if there's no me, if there's no you, so why should I do good? Right? Why should I give dana? There's no I and no you. We're all the same, Why are these actions necessary? So we have to understand what is the meaning of an-atman, what is a soul, what is a non-changing self. This is the important thing. All right, so if the Buddha say no soul, so who is responsible? Right. Let's say today I hit someone, I slap in the face, and say, because I'm empty, there's no soul. So, and then you tell me that, in the future, you will receive some bad karma. And then I tell you, there's no soul, there's no I. Isn't that logical to ask that? So who is responsible here? Who will receive the bad karma? Right? So do you see the dilemma between this understanding? On one hand, we say that there's no soul. And on the other hand, we say that there's karma. Someone is going to get it in the future. So who is that someone? So these are the questions I think that has a trouble many Buddhists. Doesn't matter which tradition you are from, Theravada, Chinese Buddhism, we all face the same dilemma. Okay, we will discuss it much more deeper. I want to make sure we understand who is responsible, right? Right, today I'm responsible for finishing on time, so I guarantee I'm going to finish my 2 lines in 1 minute. The Kalamas, okay? This is one of also the very first teaching that the Buddha gave to his newcomers, new students. He said that you should think for yourself. Don't take everything I say to be the authoritative statement. Believe in yourself. Try it. Practice it. If it doesn't work for you, forget it. If you don't trust me, look for other teacher. Okay? This is the Kalamas. We also talk about that. And the Four Noble Truths, of course. But in many teachings of Buddhist introductory course, you will always find that the first thing you will learn is they will teach about the Four Noble Truths. Right? Am I right? I think most books you pick up is about Four Noble Truths. But actually, I won't start with the Four Noble Truths. I usually don't start with that because for me, the Four Noble Truths is to teach people who have experience, who have long practitioners, and who have seen life is suffering itself. Because my experience was when I first talk about, I remember my very first teaching on Buddhism to a group of young people. I tell them the Four Noble Truths. I say, oh, life is suffering. And those kids look at me like, what are you talking about? I'm having lots of fun, I got friends. I got good food, my parents are kind to me. It's not, life not suffering. Life is about not making the good choices. Life is not about, but for them, understanding suffering is not something that we are so familiar with. So some people, when they first heard about, oh, Buddhism is so pessimistic, you all talk about suffering. You kind of like ban people from having fun, enjoying life. Actually, it's not true. So this is why I think that I wouldn't mention the Four Noble Truths in the beginning. I think this may cause misunderstanding, and this may also bring some confusion. So we start by talking karma and soul. What is the soul? That's more important. All right. So another question that I want to bring you home is up the 5 topics we have right here. Which of that you think is the most relevant to you? In other words, is what do you need right now? Okay, I want to think yourself. Why are you here today? Why you decided to participate in this class? Why do you want to join? Okay, what do you want to get out of this? You want to understand the structure of karma? You want to understand how I relate to other people? Or you just want to have a better relationship with your spouse, your family, your friends? Or you want to understand yourself a bit more? Everyone is different, all right? Think about it. What matters to you? Write it down. I hope you can share this with us next week when we meet. All right, so that's all I have for today. Okay, I'm not sure if we got time for question. Anyone, if you have anything, or Sharon, can you guide us? Do we need to answer some questions very briefly?
Yes, so there are 2 questions. One is from B. She asks, what's the difference between being enlightened and becoming enlightened?
Being enlightened and becoming enlightened?
Yes.
Is it the play of language? Okay. Becoming enlightened, for me, it sounds, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Becoming enlightened for me is more like a process. We are all on a process already, right? We're all becoming enlightened. Being enlightened, does it mean you already reached a goal? Being, for me, English-wise, being means you're already enlightened, right? So I'm not sure whether is it a different of the English language or have other contexts. So this is my understanding from the English point of view. Okay.
Okay. And another question from Wei Lian is, he's always thinking, so In that sense, is it not a right view that he's always thinking?
Definitely not going to be enlightened this life.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're wrong, you're not alone. At least I share the same with you. I know for sure I'm not going to get enlightened this life. Okay, I make a vow already to come back again, again, and again. I don't know how many times, but I do have already made a wish. I'm coming back. So if you think that having this is not a right view, you're not alone. You know, oh, this is not a wrong view. It's right. Bodhisattva path is always about sharing what we have learned now, whatever we are, wherever we are, we share the best we can with other people. So it takes a long time. We are not rushed towards enlightenment because we want to change people. We want to share with people as many as possible. So in Bodhisattva path of life, we never worry or we never kind of like mention about time. So when when I see the goal there, how long does it take? We never really care so much about that. I won't say don't care, but that's not a priority. The priority is we know that we are learning, we are changing bit by bit every day. So that's the goal. What is yuan in Buddhism English? Yuan, I think one of the translation of yuan is condition. We have action and reaction, right? The reason and the result. So in between, they're all conditions. Okay, we'll go much deeper into that. Yeah, conditions. Good question. All right, I think we should end here. Sorry about the 5 minutes delay. So